So there are various factors that will disqualify an individual from obtaining a DV visa under the DV lottery program. For those who are hearing this for the very first time, the DV visa is basically an application that you apply for every year. The US government opens up applications to the whole world for people from different parts of the world to apply and practically win the lottery to become a US citizen. Now, for the very first 5 years that you move into the country, you are a permanent green card holder. 5 years later, you transition into being a United States citizen. So, if you're seeing my face for the very first time, I feel like that's funny, but yeah, if you're seeing my face for the very first time, my name is Rachel Agasha. I'm an immigrant from Uganda. I won the DV lottery, and that is why I talk about it. I feel like I have earned the right to talk about it, yeah. So on the channel, I talk about my experience, what I have lived through the United States, what I have seen, the mistakes I have made that I wouldn't want you to make if you came to the United States of America. Now, initially, I was doing very many different things on the channel until I decided to start doing this. So that is what the channel is about. Thank you for choosing to watch this video. If I give you a reason to subscribe at the end of the video, please don't hesitate. Leave a thumbs up for this video and leave a comment if you have one. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the factors that will lead to your disqualification. Yeah, so when you apply, you're selected, and then you move on to the different steps. Now, of course, there are factors that will disqualify you from the word go, of like, if you are from, let's say, a country that is not supposed to be participating in this particular program, they'll not even look at your application. Now, if you want to know how our people are selected for this program, it's practically AI. And we know that AI, artificial intelligence, is up that side, because I mean, they program it and they're like, okay, for these and these countries, don't even bother. Yeah, so of course the first thing that is going to disqualify you is if you're applying from a country that is not eligible to be participating in this particular program. Now, there are of course other things that will lead to your disqualification if you do not meet these particular things eventually. Of like, the next thing that I actually want to talk about is failing to meet the criteria that is set by this guy. So if they've said that for you to apply, you're supposed to you have to have completed your high school. If you have not completed high school and you do not have the equivalent or the work experience that they're talking about that they need, which is practically the equivalent, then you could be disqualified from actually getting the DV visa. Now, if you're watching this for the very first time, the applications are normally open every year in September, and they run from September up to November. So if today is the 11th of September, they close the 11th of November, they close on the 7th of November. So you cannot apply at this point, but next year you should apply, because again, for as long as you're from a country that is eligible, you have your high school degree or diploma or whatever it is in your country, then you definitely qualify to apply for this particular DV program. Also, we are making this video for you to assess yourself and be like, okay, everything that she just said, do I actually qualify? Yeah, so another thing that will disqualify you is your criminal history. Best believe if you have a criminal record, so I know in some of our countries, I mean, like, I'm going to say our African countries, they don't keep records, and but they ask for a letter of good conduct as you go for the interview. So if you've committed a crime in your country, I want to think this is like a hack that you can use, or I mean, you could get away with it, because some some records are really petty and it's like really no big deal for as long as it did not involve your fingerprints. Because when you go to get your letter of good conduct, I don't know how it is done in all these other countries, but I'm from Uganda. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I'm from Uganda, and I moved to the United States in August 2022. So if whatever crime you committed did not require for your fingerprints to be taken, then I think you can survive. I want to think you'd get away with it, right? Because when you go to get your letter of good conduct, they ask you to, they take your fingerprints and I think run them through the record to be sure you've not committed any crimes, and then they can offer you the letter of good conduct. So the criminal history, if you've been convicted of any crimes, that could be an issue. So you need to be sure your criminal record is good, because if they are checking, these guys do a background check. But I feel like when you provide them with a letter of good conduct, they trust it and they're like, you know what, it's okay, this is probably a good person, so they will let you in. So your record has to be clean, because if it is not, that could be an issue for your an issue that could lead to your disqualification. So another issue that could lead to your disqualification is health issues. Normally they say if you probably have a condition that is a threat to the public, yeah. So things like TB, things like I don't know about COVID, but I mean, that would thrive, but mostly communicable diseases. I'm not going to break down the communicable diseases. You could Google and see the communicable diseases. If you suffer from a communicable disease, that could actually be disqualification. Practically everything that you can spread, yeah, that could disqualify you from getting the DV visa. Actually, when you go to do your medical interview, yeah, there is that part where they do a counseling part, and they kind of take you through the things that will actually disqualify you. That is why I always advise people that if you are going to do the medical exam, as women, we suffer different things, different infections, UTIs, those things, yeah. So I'd recommend that before you go for your interview, for like a week prior, there are antibiotics that you can take to clear out that infection. Best believe these things, gonorrhea, syphilis, what, and they do a thorough checkup. So if you have anything that you believe can spread from one person to another, that could be a reason for disqualification. Now, when you're in the counseling, they'll tell you, this particular situation is kind of going to delay you, blah, blah, blah. They are lying. So if you feel like you have infections, UTIs, treat those things before you decide to go for the medical exam, because you don't want that to be a hindrance. I mean, if it is something that you have control over, treat it and have it out of the way, because it could cost you a whole visa. Now, another factor that could disqualify you from getting the DV visa is being in the United States unlawfully. Of like, you got a chance to like come to the US and you overstayed your welcome or your stay. Because one thing about these people is they will keep those records. They'll be like, oh, okay, so when you had the opportunity to come to our country, you felt like you felt the need to stay without permission. Now you're asking. So what happens that when you're in the state? Now I work at a firm, like a law firm, and we do all this immigration stuff. So there's that form that you can actually apply, and you're asking for forgiveness, yeah, of like, okay, it's not like forgiveness, but you're waiving the fact that, oh, I'm sorry, I lived in your country unlawfully, and I am sorry. There's that form that you can fill. But if you have lived in the States unlawfully, it might hinder or it might disqualify you from actually getting the US visa when you need it at this point. Yeah, so when you get that chance, the opportunity to come to the United States, and you intend to apply for the DV lottery, please go back home and then try your luck. Yeah, but also if you want to do things the other way, I mean, do you, right? Do you feel? Then another thing that will of course disqualify you from getting the DV visa is if you don't attend the visa interview, because how are they supposed to give you the visa exactly? Show up for your interview, do all the medicals, do everything that you're supposed to do, provide all the documentation that they need, have everything that they're asking of you, and show up. Show up, because best believe I'm going to be doing a video on the interview, and you will be shocked. It's easy, so do not be scared of, oh my god, oh I'm not going to be able, oh my god. If you can, you have the money, please show up. Like, show up. And they don't care, honestly. By the time you sign up for this, you need to have the money. They honestly don't care. But alternatively, I think there was I think I was watching a YouTuber sometime, and she failed to raise the money for the period of time that she was supposed to be doing her medical exam, because after the medical exam, like a few days later, you do the interview, and she wrote to the embassy and they were able to reschedule her interview. She explained her situation. So I feel like if you do not have the money and you can explain your situation, then they can reschedule you. The only problem is this program is a first come first serve. So I mean, she could have been lucky, but will you be? Yeah, because they have designated particular visas for a particular number of people in a country. So if you do your medical exam and you fail, you're off. You do the interview and you don't pass the interview, you're off. So when those interviews are over, then you're done. Because when they select people, there's a Rachel who has a husband and 10 children. A visa is accorded to all of these 10 children. So one family is practically taking up like 15 or 12 visas. Yeah, now you who is having issues with your money, oh I don't have this document, they are not going to wait for you. Best believe they will not wait for you. Once the visas are done, it's a first come first serve basis. By the time they have allocated you a date for your interview, stick to it. Show up, do your interview, and we shall see you in America, right? Yeah, that's as much as I had for this video. Thank you so much for watching to the very end. If you've come up to the end, I am so glad that you did. I hope I gave you a reason to subscribe. For those who have subscribed, thank you for subscribing. I'll see you in our next video. Take care and stay safe. Bye bye.